You have two eyes, huh? Do you understand the game a bit? Yeah, have a look.
I'm not saying anything to you in particular because I know you're not too accurate with your reporting.
That's what you paid
so you're
for.
Saying I should resign. So you're saying I should resign?
I think
that's
you should,
your opinion. Is that right?
That's my
okay,
opinion.
Fine.
Are you going to resign then?
No, of course I'm not going to resign.
I simplify things next time.
In the words of a certain Star Wars character, I love democracy. And today is a great day to celebrate democracy because, yes, I am Nick Debato, your host, the people's host, actually, today, voted in, edging Joey with seconds to go on the timer. Now, the reason why we're late is because we didn't refresh the page and we were looking at a dead heat. We were looking at a tie, you know, coming down to sudden death stakes. And all of a sudden, well, when we refreshed the page, those extra 3 votes went my way and we're up and about, fellas. There'll be no recount. But yes, it is the national curriculum. We're back for the first time in, well, it's been about 2 weeks now. We went through our no-ticker phase. Stoll is still stuck in his no-ticker phase, and he's not here tonight. But Josh Parrish joining us today. We've also got Joey Lynch, Ante Jukic, and as well, young boy Lachie Flanigan. Guys, our Liga Men's finals kicked off this weekend. Before we get into all the games, how are we all feeling? The Mariners Adelaide game finished, about 20 minutes ago now. How's things? How's our weekends going?
Well, I'm going to say, Nick DeMano, you have won the people's vote. You are hosting, and the first thing you decide to do is you open up with a quote from not just a Star Wars movie, a prequel Star Wars movie.
So what you're saying, Joey, is
I'm just happy for it not to be me.
So what you're saying, Joey, is you're calling for a second referendum.
Yes, I'm calling for a revote. We were discussing the flow of preferences before just Nick DeBarno declared himself hosting, and we were running late. So,
look, to be honest, the fact that Josh isn't hosting this show is proof that democracy doesn't work.
That's because he wasn't on the ballot.
Josh Party, that's
left
my
off the
kind
ballot.
of party.
Terrible administrative error. Actually, due to human error, I've been left off the ballot for hosting tonight's show, and we sincerely apologize.
Yeah, when Josh said he was coming on the show, we cut to an ad break in our group chat, so we missed it, and unfortunately weren't able to add him to the things, as you said, human error. But Joey, the prequels have the best content for memes, so I don't understand why there's the hate. Come on, for the memes, for that sort of stuff, it's fantastic. But anyways, let's get into it, guys.
Joey's starting the hashtag Nick's out.
I'm not surprised.
He's
already got one Nick out. Is he going to get a second one out? We'll just have to wait and see.
No,
but anyways,
Nick's out. Wellington.
Thank you, Lachie. I'm glad I've got some support on this podcast. But anyways, let's get into it, guys. First game this weekend. Well, the first talking point. We'll go to the last game that was in action: Adelaide versus Central Coast. Well, the Mariners are going home. Adelaide advancing to the next round. 3-1 winners. They'll play Melbourne City in a 2-legged semi coming up this week. Adelaide getting the job done, took the lead inside the opening half, scored the second goal. I don't know how many people saw it, but there was a second goal. When you came back, the ball's in the back of the net. Mariners got back in the game through Storm Roux, and then at the end, Bernardo putting the game to rest. So let's go around the room, guys. Who wants to go first? What were your thoughts on the contest?
I'm just going to say there has never been a more A-League's goal than Adelaide's first goal in that. It was just perfect encapsulation of all of it, wasn't it? I mean, turnover from the centre-back, just quick ball forward, defensive error.
Not just the centre-back, Alec Wilkinson 2.0 centre-back.
The Socceroo.
Jesus Christ. He had a stinker today.
I mean, is there any doubt now that Dan Hall is the best defender on the Central Coast Mariners after watching them without him today, especially?
I mean, we didn't need today to come to that.
We didn't need today, but there can be no debate now, surely, that Dan Hall is.
Stranger things have happened with the eye tests in Australian football.
Only one of the
look at the Alex Tobin medal.
Playing for the Socceroos, or at least in squads. So, what do we know?
Hey, but then again, speaking of eye tests, how about that Alex Tobin medal, guys? Wow, what a medal!
Listen, obviously,
Sorry, not to derail you shit.
yeah, too late for that. No, obviously, Mariners just couldn't create good looks on goal, could they?
No.
Throughout the entire thing. I mean, and that in general, for most of these two games, that was the general trend throughout this entire weekend. Just teams struggling to create good looks on goal. Now, inevitably, some of that is going to come down to the crucible that is finals football. Everything seems to get a little bit quicker and more intense as the the cliche goes. But you do feel bad for the Mariners. I mean, it would have been nice, if we didn't just get chalk the first week of the finals, if we did get some sort of upset, and like the Mariners, it feels like everything that can go wrong has gone wrong for them at just the most important times this season. FFA Cup, that game against City, and now just not playing the way they're capable of playing.
FFA Cup
wasn't allowed to play the cum dog.
I mean, nor should they have.
Let's not reignite this one.
No, but
why are you and Joey arguing about this? You were in agreement that week, as I remember. I was the dissenting voice.
Just because it went wrong doesn't mean it wasn't right. It was right.
I was aligned with the rules. It was the right thing, but anyway.
Still was misfortunate.
I remember I said to you guys yesterday in the box last night, and it would have been nice to see Central Coast get up, but more than likely Adelaide are going to shithouse their way to a win, which is what happened. And, they are a quick, dynamic team, and you give them opportunities to transition, they will hurt you. And speaking of that goal, the initial goal that they copped, it wasn't just the fact that, they conceded possession. It was how they conceded possession with respect to Rolls and his trepidation in going up the pitch, creeping up so he doesn't have anyone pressing him overtly. The need to play that kind of ball into Cummings, of that distance with Cummings isolated. You saw that in instances last night as well in the Wellington game where Lewis is trying to feed 20-meter passes into ball, and you have three defenders around one player trying to receive the ball. Like, of course you're going to lose a ball in those scenarios, and that was what happened with respect to Rolls and that need to allowance for Adelaide to transition in the way that they did. I mean, this is what we're going to see in the A-League finals. Whoever scores first will win.
Well, I was going to throw to Josh, but Josh has just left the stream. We'll get to him in a sec. Actually, no, he's back. He's back. Josh, you have something to add about Adelaide's performance today, or just about Adelaide in general?
I mean, are we going to give this side credit at any point for being built to win in this competition in the most limited way possible? No,
you absolutely have to.
So let's praise them for having a low bar.
Well, sure.
They're employed to meet that low bar.
Exactly. And look, they've met the bar when a lot of teams haven't met that bar this season.
Yeah.
And, is it inspiring stuff? No. But they're an unfashionable team that works hard and gets balls into the box from wide areas and thrives on opposition mistakes and transition. And, I mean, Craig Goodwin, I know he's not to your taste, Ante, but he's having one of the best individual seasons in recent memory by an Australian player in this competition.
Yeah,
I'd say
it's as a consequence of low functionality. Yeah, like we can go further up the chain here. Like the fact Adelaide are the least bad of teams, out of the rest in the A-League this season does not mean Adelaide are any good.
I mean, sure. But that you got to judge them in by what we have available, by the competition that they play in. This season for Adelaide, we've been very low on them the entire time and low on this midfield combination. But they're in a semi-final, and today they probably deserved it. I mean, the Mariners didn't offer much. Yes, they had players out, And we can talk about the absentees, but we've been praising Cummings and Ureña all season, and I thought they dropped a bit of a stinker today.
Ureña did, but
yeah, Ureña in particular.
At the same time,
not as effective as he should have been.
Yeah, not really, because the game isn't opened up for them. Like, you think about how Ureña has a real impact on the game. It's initially making that run behind the fullbacks and trying to stretch the defensive line. Speaking of, connections to last night, this was the very fucking same thing that Talai talked about, and the questionable logic that applied to that as well. Oh, we didn't have any runs in behind. Well, how are you supposed to stretch a defensive line when it's being played within one half of the pitch? When it's being played from box to box, it's easier to do that. And that was the case with Ureña. When the game is, compressed in the way it is, his effectiveness becomes lessened, and the reliance then falls onto Cummings. And I find any definitive assessments on Cummings in relation to this performance to be reductive, to be honest.
I mean, I agree with that, but Adelaide were able to exploit the wide areas in a way that teams haven't against Central Coast this season. So yes, it's a lot of crossing, but they played two forwards in order to exploit that, and it worked. You can't say it didn't work, even if it's not pretty and it's not creative and it's not going to lead anywhere exciting for Australian football. It was effective given the opponent they faced. Will they get through next week? Probably not. But, Adelaide, this is a tick. It's a good season.
Adelaide seemed to be Melbourne City's boogie team.
Because they can press.
Yeah. Melbourne City have, especially at Cooper Stadium, not only do Melbourne City have poor form against Adelaide, they have a form of going to pieces against Adelaide United at that hostile environment.
Because Adelaide traditionally, like I said, Adelaide traditionally are the only team that press Melbourne City. Like, outside of Newcastle this season, how many teams actually press in this league? City and Adelaide traditionally. That's it. And I mean, it's hard to. Sorry, go for it, Tabana.
No. I was just going to say on that point about bogey teams, hasn't really this season the top four really been Melbourne City's bogey teams all year? They haven't beaten any of the top four this season. But Joey, I do see your point about the fact that you think about those 2-2s early in the season. City bottled both of those games, and you think about the 2-1 here at Amy Park. Again, that winner, Ante, you talk about pressing. That winner came as a result of choking under the result of pressing, and Mo Toure went on and scored the winner. So it would be interesting to see what actually happens over two legs. And look, we'll go into all the previews for the game in a second, but our YouTube chat is absolutely popping off at the moment. Everyone's saying, when are you going to throw to us? When are you going to throw to us? Just hold your horses. It's coming right now. Let's start with Mark Jamieson. Rough on rolls. Easily his worst game, but he's been solid this season. Ante?
Yeah, that's fine. He's been solid, but
he hasn't been the best defender.
That's conditioned by the fact that he had Hall next to him for a lot of this season.
And we're talking about that in the context of him being mooted as future Socceroo or even current Socceroo and Kai Rolls. And I just don't see it for him. I think he's a decent to good A-League defender. That's we can differ on the ceiling for the guy, but and left-sided centre backs aren't exactly in plentiful supply either. So he has an advantage in that regard.
The Homer legend also saying the good news about Mariners losing is Cumdog is now available for the La Liga Men's All-Star team. Surely he's in. Surely he's playing. He has to. I mean,
we just saw how Nick. We just saw how terrible democracy works with who's hosting this show. Can you guarantee anything regarding that fan vote?
Well, it depends what eye test we're looking at, Joey.
I mean, Dwight Yorke, Dwight Yorke and the Cumdog. That's got to be the most fun dressing room of all time.
Going to be the most fun after party, more like.
Yeah, exactly.
Afterwards. No, I think just thinking back to what Josh is saying about giving the Adelaide United credit for this season. Falling back onto one of my most cliched terms, but multiple things can be true at once. You absolutely can judge Adelaide United in much the way that you can judge Melbourne City, Melbourne Victory and Western United in the context of this A-League campaign, in which case you have to give them credit. They are the best for sides from this year at getting results and surviving now in the case of Western United and Adelaide United. But that can sit in parallel with a conversation around their functionality as football teams, the way that their rosters have been assembled and everything like. It's not mutually exclusive. You know, you can hold sides to, you know, multiple. It's not one or the other. You're allowed to have opinions about both. You are allowed to say, yeah, they've done well, but they could have done better. I mean, that's the entire point of having these discussions. It's not a binary. Massive shades of grey exist, and it's the case of Adelaide United. Are they built to win in the A-League? Absolutely. Does that mean that they are, you know, a fantastic football team? No, that's fine. It's true. Same thing like Melbourne City. Have they been the best A-League side possibly of the last 3 years? Yes. But does that mean that they are
relative to their resources? Can they be better? Yeah.
Yeah. Can they be better? Yes.
Absolutely.
That is what we're saying. Like, I will tell anybody that listens, I absolutely hold Melbourne City to a higher standard than every other team in this league because of that resourcing and because of the way they carry themselves.
And speaking of, sorry, like, man, this week's going to be interesting. Like, I don't think there's going to be much. There won't be much change specifically over the two leagues between between the two leagues, and you know, Viet and Kaznorbo are, let's say, notoriously unwilling to adjust in certain respects. But yeah, man, I'm intrigued to see what happens in that first leg. Very intrigued, because that'll ultimately condition the second one.
I mean, I'm very interested in the extent that it's going to be an Adelaide home game to open it up. So Adelaide, that was a choice given to both City and Victory. They won the right to choose when their home leg would be. Both of them chose to host the second leg, which I think is standard practice. You know, you generally want to host. But in a situation wherein a Melbourne City side hasn't gotten a win over a top four team all year, they go to Adelaide. Adelaide do what Adelaide do to Melbourne City at Cooper Stadium, and they get it. They jam a 2-1, 1-0 win, and all of a sudden Melbourne City has to overturn a deficit in the second leg under all that pressure against the bogey side. That's going to be very interesting to watch.
Just on this game, just one little point I wanted to add. We spoke about, obviously, goal scorers. Cassini Yengi, good to see him back. I mean, no one thought he'd be back this season. I mean, blew out his whole quad, wasn't it? Like early in the season, and they signed Ibasuki to replace him. He's come back at the right time. He scored today. There's some rumors swirling. Yeah. Well, there's some rumors swirling about
Kevin Nash back with his quad.
Well, there's obviously rumors swirling about his future and I guess where he's going to be next season. But it's good to see him out there, and he took his goal well for everyone that saw him got in a good position to, I guess, put that away. But yeah, in the end, I guess they're through. The one thing I did find surprising was they went Yengi and Ibasuki up top together from the start. Like, very, very interesting decision to play two number nines. We haven't seen, we've seen Blackwood sort of take that role, but it was interesting to see Vart go to that and then have Isais and one day in behind them. And then when he brings Louis Dorigo on in the last few minutes, Dorigo sending, I think it was Kai Rolls for an absolute hot dog and almost scoring that third goal before Bernardo did. Like, just a shout out to Dorigo. Okay, that was it. They just didn't have the finish, unfortunately.
Oh, God, somebody turned on the microwave in Devano's house. This is why we can't let this man host.
I'm here. I'm here.
But yeah, look, it's good to see. And at this stage of the season, like, players are going to play through, even if they have, let's say, injuries or niggles or pain. Some players are going to play through that. Yeah, it's good to see Yengi back, man. Good to see him scoring. Like, he's a player who, unfortunately, hasn't been able to see this whole season through because of injury. But he's doing well for himself in the chances that he does get.
And this is Carl Viet playing a young player from the start in an important position. Good, Carl. Can we have a bit more of that, please, with some of your other youngsters?
The other one that did a start is Alexander Popovich. Jack Pantelios just coming with
Good
comment.
call.
He's obviously played the last few weeks. Popovich is so good at the back, telling that he keeps his spot over older and more experienced players in Trat and Lachie Barr.
Yep. Good call.
Well, I mean, Lachie Barr's not that experienced when it comes to A-League football. He's
funny,
an NPL recruit, and he's not that old. But yeah, Jacob Trapp,
But in
I think,
relation to
has
Trapp,
been
yeah.
pretty poor defensively. He's a threat off set pieces, but pretty poor defensively. So replacing him earlier in the season was a good call, and
gives him-
Popovich is the form guy.
And gives them nothing in early phases as well. Popovich is at least a little bit more adept in earlier phases of play playing out than Trat as well. Trat's got just a lot of time between touches. Not good.
Looking at that comment, is George Timotheou injured, or have Adelaide United fans forgotten he exists as well?
He also has been abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
We have
On his way
another.
to Amy Park via
Oh wow!
Read the
There's a lot of-
formation, by
oh,
the way.
silly.
I like to think that before the game, Carl Vart sat his players down and recited "If" by Rudyard Kipling, and then said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Adelaide will be playing 4-4-2."
Oh goodness! Unfortunately,
have Benson and Hedges up
unfortunately,
front.
Benson and Hedges went on the bench.
But before we move on, guys, Lachie, did you have anything you want to add from this game?
Ante was talking about players putting themselves on the line, playing through the pain barrier in games. Ryan Kiddo getting a dislocation and having his arm popped back in. That is passion right there. That Carl Viet would have absolutely loved that on the sidelines. But yeah, I don't know how players do that, but full credit to Ryan Kiddo for wheeling that out, and very interested to see how chaotic this semi-final against City is going to be, because it will.
Well, as someone who's dislocated my
move on,
shoulder
guys.
multiple
Let's go
times,
to-
yeah, it doesn't tickle. So
Josh, see you later, mate. We're 90 minutes, 100%. We're seeing under 90 minutes. What is the over under on this podcast, by the way, tonight?
100.5.
Stoll, I need you to jump on second half, mate.
I'm going to go under 2.5 hours.
The disruptor. The National Technical Advisor, Nick Stoll.
Oh, Jesus.
Let's move on, guys. Let's go back to last night. Western United won. Wellington Phoenix still. Western United progressing. But as I've got here, Jamie Young beat the Knicks in the end with where credit's due. That was an unbelievable save. Like that save on James McGarry to claw that one out of the bottom corner. Incredible stuff. And we've got to take some T&C credit here. Joey, you wearing the England jersey inside the presser, the vintage English jersey, basically, inspired John Aloisi to compare it to Gordon Pele in the 1970 World Cup. Just on Jamie Young before we go to the game, guys. Some performance, especially in the second half when Wellington were pushing, and a number of key saves at the end there.
I'm going to assume you've thrown to us, Nick, because you keep breaking up again, Mr. Host.
Yeah,
Someone's turning the microwave on and off, just like micro blasts.
Once
It's not
again,
quite right, you know.
You absolutely do have to give credit to Jamie Young. I mean, we are going to dissect the game in a little bit about the complete dearth of maybe proper chances inside the box and the manner, but of the chances that did come for the Knicks,
there wasn't dirt.
Well,
It was
in
there
the
was
first
enough,
half.
but there were enough chances in the box.
Yeah.
How they came is the $6 million question, Joseph. Come on.
I'm trying to praise Jamie Young here, and I'm not thinking about that. Jamie Young, it was. You can't do anything but tip your cap to a bloke in that circumstance. It was incredible. Like that save. I mean, Liam Reddy had an absolute amazing save against Melbourne City in the penultimate game of City's A-League season, which was also fantastic. But let's face it, the stakes of that were nil for Perth Glory. Jamie Young save, the manner in which he did it, I took a screenshot of it when he actually made contact with it, an inch further, and that's over the line, and the Knicks score. And he's just, that big paw of his is able to keep it out. It is just a miraculous save. It's one of the best saves in A-League's history. You can't, all cynicism aside, you just have to admit that it was good. And quite frankly, this Western side, well, they'd be playing finals, but they wouldn't have been hosting that game, I don't think, if not for Jamie Young this season. He has bailed them out on so many separate occasions. We talk about them winning 1-0 and Leo Lacroix and all of that, getting all the plaudits. Jamie Young has bailed this side out so often. And it goes back to, I remember earlier in the season, we were joking about how the 10 commentary was incredulous that Jamie Young had made the most saves in the competition, despite Western not conceding many goals, and what that actually meant. But at the very least, Young was making the saves, and it's not his job to stop teams getting into the box. It's his job to stop them once they're there, and he's done that throughout the season. Perhaps to my chagrin, because at the start of the season, I was hoping that Ryan Scott would have started for Western United. But Jamie Young, regardless of what else we say throughout this chat surrounding that game, congratulations to you. You played a blinder, and I would not be surprised if he's able to pull off a few more blinders in this final series.
Would have helped Wellington if they actually made him work in the first half as well.
Well, yes. Now we get to the shitting on portion of the discussion.
Because
they were terrible.
Mate. When they were
terrible in the first half. Once they went down 1-0, and they had to have the ball.
But even the chances they created, in the second half as well. Like, you've got that McGarry header, Piscopo's effort from distance that hits the intersection of the frame of the goal. I mean, and they had another header. Like, this was just.
Didn't Sutton blast wide from close range as well?
Yes, he did actually.
Yeah. Yes.
But you think about it, like Western United should have put this game to bed before halftime.
Oh, 100%. Like Dylan Wenzel balls. Like
it's and one of the most inefficient finishers in the A-League last season ends up missing chances in a final, just like he did last season for Brisbane against Adelaide. And I mean, there's no way this should have been a contest. I know I'm going to do some mental gymnastics here, but Western won. Should have put the game away, given how it was being played. They had, what was it? Wellington had 65 to 70% of the ball over the first 70% 45 of the minutes.
Ball. Yeah.
Let me check, actually. Let me get the stats up. So they had 67.5% possession in the first half and gave up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shots in the box to 2. Like, that's embarrassing from Wellington's standpoint. Western should have put those chances away, but at the same time, it should never have come to that from Wellington. Like, if and people were saying, "Oh, Clayton Lewis is going to be back." They'll be better. Clayton Lewis is collecting cheap pill between the centre backs and giving the side absolutely nothing going forward of halfway. They're losing the ball and coughing the ball up on a regular basis. The Chad wasn't much better either.
Sorry for our listeners. The Chad is
Chad Pennington.
Nicholas Pennington. Nick Pennington. Like we were in the box last night, and my old man, the venerable Michael Lynch, was actually there for a change after being on leave throughout most of the season. And we're referring to the Chad, and he asks who we're talking about, and we're like, "Oh, this is about 3 or 4 memes deep that we explain this to you."
There's no way we can explain this.
Yeah, we will explain one meme to you, and then a second meme, and then maybe a third meme as well.
Look through the looking glass, people.
In short, the Chad was not great.
I I mean, Ben Garuccio could pretty much have, had a picnic at times at left back where there.
Exactly. I was talking about this during the game, like how little width, Wellington played with. And that's not simply down to the fact that, you had midfielders asking for cheap ball between the centre backs, but the fact that you did have Sutton and Payne as flat as they were in early phases of possession, they're putting Garuccio and Imai under absolutely no pressure at all. And then that allows Western to compress onto players like Piscopo and Sandoval as well. Sandoval and Piscopo weren't really pulling Kilkenny and Skatatis out of position. Well, this is why. Because you're not really isolating them in the center of the pitch. They're not being made to, they're not being stretched, essentially. And Talai talking about, forward runs helped us in the second half. It's like specifically runs behind the defensive line from his attackers. No. What helps is the game being played from box to box and Western actually deciding they're going to have the ball. And when Western have the ball, that usually creates for a volatile game.
I have no idea why Western decided they wanted the ball in the second half. Why do you watch that? How do you watch that first half and decide, let's change it?
I mean, I guess the most rational explanation for something like that is we want to kill the game off. And that's not necessarily a certainty if you're playing in transition. But at the same time, they just don't function in possession. And as a result, they're never really going to put 90 minutes together. Whether they can score in the chances they do generate in transition or from set pieces will be definitive for them going forward, as it has been this season already.
I mean, it's going to be, looking at this Western United side, they've got a very short turnaround. Oh, for God's sakes, Nick's in his bloody microwave. He's gone again.
Josh should just host.
All right, yeah, Josh is hosting. We've lasted half an hour in. Josh,
hang on. Can you guys hear me?
Knifing the leader so quickly.
Can you hear?
No, he's broken up again.
Josh is hosting.
Josh is hosting now.
He's got to go, blood.
He's got to go, blood.
Okay. Looking at this, Western United have a short turnaround now. John Aloisi was very evasive about it post-game, but the manner in which Rene Krin came off, Sniper got him, he's went down. He's done. He's not playing again in the finals. Now, Risdon came on second half, got through the game. Looking at it, he will start at right back, you would now expect against Victory, which means Imai comes back inside and plays it. To be honest, I reckon that's Western's best back four. Risdon at right back, Imai and Lacroix, and then Garuccio at left back.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So, interesting to see what happens with that. Also, interesting to see what happens further up. I mean, does Dylan Pereira's come back? How does he play? It's going to be interesting to see how Aloisi sets them up and for what is basically going to be a contest between him and Popovic of whoever has the ball loses. Again, it's a theme.
I mean, you'll probably I reckon
he's gone again.
You'll see more of the same from last night, where you'll probably have Skatatis, Kilkenny, Payne, Wales, Wenzel Hawes, Priovic.
You think he plays Skatatis against Victory?
Who else does he have?
This is a good point.
Unless he plays unless he plays Bozza, but he'll probably come on as a sub.
Oh, I like this from Antonis. The hot potato battle of the bridge.
I like that.
I mean,
very nicely done.
This Western Victory game. I don't know how much more there is to say about the Wellington match, other than that Wellington were outmatched. And I think they had a pretty defined ceiling this season. They did enough to scrape in. I wasn't expecting to get past week one of the finals, regardless of who they played.
I mean, I reckon they could have been used better, especially earlier in the season. But the reality is, like you said, if you're going to play Hooper up top, like you said, you're going to have a defined ceiling.
I mean,
do you think?
So I just want to say this Knicks team made the finals with a negative 15 goal difference. The fact that they even made the finals is a bit of an indictment on every team that didn't make the finals.
But that was just as much as Perth teams under Kenny Lowe that made 6th were home before the postcards. But their season is defined as a success because they made the first week of the finals, even though they played horrendous football to get to that point.
Do you think they made a mistake going back to they went back to the back 4 here, right? So
you know what, like that was spoken about during the presser last night, but they were effectively playing with a back 3 anyway.
Because Clayton Lewis was dropping so deep.
Actually, that is what I want to dig into. Is why aren't they? Let's go back to sort of first principles here. Is why do you object to?
Hold on, there's 11 principles, not first principles. What are you talking about?
And this is the first one.
I'm not objecting.
Why do you
to
object to central midfielders picking the ball up off the centre backs?
I'm not objecting to it, like as a principle. It's fine. It's okay as a rotation, but ultimately, because it doesn't force collapses from the opposition's defense. The opposition's defense stays in front of the ball, irrespective of whether you have rotations or not. More than likely, you're going to be filtered out wide. Essentially, you can't play through the lines as a result of that. And so there were 2 chances specifically from trying to play through the lines from that rotation as like that midfielder dropping in between the centre backs. One instance, Lewis tries to play a 15-meter pass into Sandoval. Sandoval loses it. They cough up a chance from there. There's another instance from Pennington. Pennington tries to play a pass. They lose a ball, and I think it's Wales that gets a chance from that instance. Like, ultimately, like I said, the ability for the opposition team to transition is not affected. And 2, you're not really turning them around either. Where you're going in possession.
Why do coaches do it then? Do they feel they've
because they're afraid.
Midfielder
because they're afraid.
Ball instead of a centre back advancing.
Because they're afraid. That's all. They're afraid of losing the ball in certain areas. Quite pure and simple.
And you're saying as a result of this force, resulted in turnovers anyway. So
yeah, but there were, let's say, more livable turnovers, even though,
I think Lachie wants to jump in here.
Go on.
I just hearing Ante talk about these kind of things, it reminded me of a comment that Ufi made in the press conference at the end of the game, where Ante was asking about the relationship between his midfielders and defenders, and rather than really dig into it, and I think this is kind of indicative of a lot of the stuff we've been talking about, he responded about the personal relations between his players. I think they get along quite well.
That's a theme.
I love this from Joseph. Debano has the Gattuso broadband package. Sometimes maybe good. Sorry, Joe.
No, but Tale's answer there is just indicative. We've talked about it before about just being flat out gaslighted during post-game press conferences this season. Just like, technically Tale answered the question, but he knew he actually wasn't.
Yeah,
but we get that all season.
I mean, and that was the same thing, like even with Aloisi last night, talking about the quality of coaching in the A-League, just because Ange won the title. By the way, congratulations to Ange Postecoglou, and fantastic achievement.
Respect.
It's like one of the greatest sporting achievements, like from an individual in Australian sport. That's fine.
He's got a few of those.
Now, like attributing the quality of the A-League to how well, like considering how bad the football has been this season, like I can't underestimate or can't understate how much this season has been a fucking slog to watch. Like, let alone it's hard enough doing it on a weekly basis. This has been fucking every once or a game every 2-3 days. Like, it's been hard. And then talking about Australian coaches are great. This is great football. Rah rah rah. One, that was tone deaf. Two, talking about how much of it, like, okay, I understand it was an ordeal for Western, but that's also tone deaf considering you're playing against Wellington, who've been home for, like, let's say 5% of the last 2 years. Like, I mean,
plus Western's
ordeal, lying, man.
Western's ordeal is entirely self-inflicted. Nobody can have sympathy for Western United not having a home ground. It's their fault.
So, Ante, you just to be clear, you don't think Australian coaches have been channeling the spirit of Ange Postecoglou?
I don't.
It's
Should I play one of our latest clips that I've got, the Draymond one? Should I?
Oh,
Come on.
I mean,
That's just stupid. I mean, like, these are people who get employed to talk on TV about our game, and
the problem is Draymond is a person who gets employed on TV to talk about.
Well, not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
He will.
But he's no longer a full-time basketballer. He's a part-time basketballer, full-time podcaster now. So,
hey, it's a good life. I don't blame him.
you know what? He'll be good on TNT though. He understands it.
Lachie, you got a hand up there.
Western trying to sort of equate their nomadic existence to what Wellington has had to put up with. A little bit like that meme of the guy who's riding his bicycle, puts the stick in his own spokes, tumbles over, and then he's like, God damn it. Anyway, just wanted to make that comparison.
Shout out to whoever posts a version of that in the replies to this stream first. No prizes except pride, but there you go.
I was actually thinking more of the he just like me for real.
Watching the TV, like, oh man, he's just like me.
All right, I'm going to go back to Debano now. I think, as soon as I say it, his internet freezes a little bit. Anthony says, if Debano can make an inspirational video about hosting, maybe he can have his job back next week. Is this like a Carl Robinson style like season preview about how it just means more? Nick,
he's sandbagging the shit out of it.
There's absolutely no selling this.
Am I going to get through now? Am I
Yes.
going to get through now, guys, or am I like going to get cut off again?
Nick's here so he doesn't get fined.
Honestly, no. I honestly, I don't even know if it's worth even saying it because my internet has other plans.
Macca. Hey, Macca.
Macca.
Oi, Macca.
G'day, Macca. Good to see you, Macca.
All the best, Macca.
G'day guys, how are we?
Brownie.
Maccas?
Some
Wow, guys,
human
what a goal.
error on the broadcast here.
Yeah, a Macca's ad just out of nowhere.
Far out. I'm sorry. I'd like to sincerely apologize for the human error that just interrupted Nick's answer. We all want to see the best bits of the show live, but sometimes there are technical malfunctions. And
You just knew Joey wasn't going to fucking cut himself off with that ad.
absolutely not.
No fucking way, man.
It was funny. It was funniest, Nick just complaining about being cut off. You might as well just wave a red flag at a bull. Him complaining about being cut off, and then when I have that in the barrel.
Fuck. I mean, but Joey, however, you should have prompted the listener and told them, like, given them fair warning to say, "Oh, we're going to go to a break now," while Nick is making his point.
Debano, I feel like we should just play
Sorry,
Wolves
bro.
underneath Debano for the rest of the show and fade his camera out to black and white. But mate, you're moving, you're coming through. Please give us your thoughts. Your thoughts on Western United 1, Wellington Phoenix 0.
Oh, and he's freezing. Oh, man.
I did freeze. I thought he was just still.
Oh shit, bro.
All right, I guess we're moving.
I'm not going to bother. As Stephen Paletti said, I not look like a broken man. I am a broken man.
Nick, you just need to do full Sammy Guevara spec. Just hold up like little whiteboards with what you want to say during the ad breaks, and we'll get you from that.
All right, let's go to the semi-final.
Wow. He's sandbagging that shit. Fuck. Your fault, Joseph.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Melbourne City versus Adelaide. Any previews, predictions, thoughts on this matchup? I mean, City have been picking off South Australian talent for some time now. Will it stand them in good stead? These sides, as you say, know each other well.
But they've been picking up South Australian talent for the best one. But picking out South Australian talent for a long time. They might have let the best one go back to Oliveira. He was in the City Academy, and they let him go back.
Didn't want him.
Not far from strong enough.
All right, this game, two games. Acknowledging what I've just said about the Reds and Hoodoos and all that, I think City probably progresses through this. I reckon, just because they've got better players.
Lachie?
I think it all depends on the leg at Hindmarsh, like how much Adelaide are able to disrupt and unsettle City in their approach, and I don't just mean on the pitch, I mean the actual people in the stands as well. How much noise they're able to create is going to be really a big deal, because if Adelaide can grab a couple of goals first leg, can get a 2-0 or something, for example, they can batten down the hatches for that 90 minutes, and it's going to be up to City to try and find gaps in what will be a packed defensive line. And I don't think that's something they're necessarily going to be adept at doing, and they'll also have to guard against the threat of a counter in that second leg. My only question to everyone else, though, do we actually know the last time that City won at Hindmarsh? Looking at FOTMOB, it's in the league, something like 2018, which is crazy.
Is that Warren Joyce back?
I think so.
Bring back the PE teacher.
And
even
outside of the league, it hasn't gone. Sorry,
was that the finals game?
I'm not 100%.
Oh no, they lost. They lost.
They lost the finals.
That was from the Delete era, and the honourable member for Seoul ends up scoring the winner.
Yeah, and like the 119, 108, 120. Yeah. And then the next season they go. Well, no, that, and then the next season they go back to Coopers and they get pantsed in the FFA Cup final.
That was the game that Zani took the Mickey in 2018. Fornaroli had only just come back from it. No, it was a regular season game. Fornaroli had only just come back from injury, and they won that game. And then, like, you had Arzani and Fornaroli basically playing together. It was like pass of the Italian spec, like for the rest of the team.
Well, I just remember the finals game was when Harrison Delbridge went full Franz Beckenbauer mode, just carrying the ball up from the back line. It was glorious to watch.
Oh goodness!
He also did that in the. He also did that in the grand final, but unfortunately VAR intervened.
Oh, the worst decision in Australian football history.
What a moment.
I mean,
why would you do that? He's got one career.
The first leg's going to be interesting, though, man. If Adelaide can score first in that first leg, I think that completely changes the dynamic of the 180 minutes, or let's say 210 minutes if it goes further to that. Because how Kuznorbo adapts or responds to the inevitable difficulty that City will face in that respect makes for something that would be very interesting. But if they do have a propensity to start fast because they just run and press and cause, A-League teams a lot of problems because A-League teams can't play out under a press. And then they'll get, dead balls, they'll get crosses, they'll get decent chances from there.
Edmund bringing up Aaron Gay.
Speaking of, that is an important issue, but even with a fit Berenguer, given certain dynamics, like City still struggle like in a lot of phases of possession with a fit Berenguer. But yeah, yes, it would be nice for City if they had him hitting the ground running in the first 15 or 20 minutes, or even whether he's able to feel his way through the game. He'll help. But I think a lot of this depends on who scores first.
I mean, you say that's every A-League game, though.
Absolutely, but it's more pronounced in two legs.
Jack's asked, do you guys honestly think the ACL campaign will have an impact on City physically? You think they've looked tired and just poor since they've been back?
They look tired. They look poor before then.
But I think it's been worse. I have to say, I agree with Jack there. I don't think they would have lost to Perth away without the Asian Champions League campaign.
Yeah.
Just to provide right of reply, I did ask Scott Jamieson about this at the finals campaign. Finals launch, he insists they're feeling physically better than before they went to the Asian Champions League. So, yes, that's the right of reply given.
Has he convinced you to give Melbourne City more credit for representing Australia so splendidly on the global stage?
Nope.
Fair enough. All right. Home Legend says, I'm honestly so keen for these two-legged semis. Love the A-League, and Ante's negativity won't change my mind. Good on you. Stick to your guns, mate. Actually, I'm looking forward to two-legged semi-finals as well. I think they are the best kind of semi-finals.
I wish we had away goals. I think away goals would just be chaotic fun.
Well, the A-League answers Torres' question.
No, we don't have away goals. Let's face it, the finals are basically, we're going to get to sugar hits in a second, but that's effectively what the A-League finals are. They're a sugar hit, extra games, extra TV ratings. It's a tournament, basically, that they've tacked on the end of the regular season. So you might as well have fun with it. A-League games are chaotic at the best of times. Let's lean into the meme, embrace the chaos of away goals, because I'm not a fan of finals, but if we're going to have them, let's make them at least fun. Because I think, I'm what one would call a stuck-up traditionalist, and I prefer the end of the regular season. We've lost another host.
They're dropping like flies.
Does that mean I'm hosting now?
Oh no, he's gone as well. Oh, Ante, you and I have been. It's the Young Boy podcast. Let's go.
That was just Ante killing me off there. That was fun. But am I hosting now? The two sweetest words.
Creating chaos.
Yeah, rest in peace to anybody listening to this as a podcast.
What's the saying? Or to reference a term, just a spoonful of medicine helps the sugar go down. If you're saying with away goals.
Yeah, I just like being entertained. Somebody asked me about the mini ute before. I like being entertained. So yes, I can put my serious hat on and analyze things, but there is a brain dead American part of me that just likes being entertained by explosions and fireworks and
the person.
You know what? Look, I'm sorry, Lachie, but
no.
I don't give two shits about ratings. I think not even wrestling fans talk about ratings this much. You know what? And with respect to that, here's an idea: fix the fucking product on the pitch. If you want to talk about engaging people, fuck me. Sorry, I need to go back into our Liga detox. I need an international break this week, right now.
You've got to get through 2 more weeks.
I've got 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks. 2 more weeks in the hole.
4 more years. Fuck ratings. Fix the product on the pitch. A lot of other things will fall into place.
Ratings matter.
I think they do. We've got a discussion. Oh, for God's sakes, is it your internet or is Lachie keeping on removing you from the stream, Josh?
I don't know what's happening, man.
Okay.
We
are going to talk. We actually do have a special segment devoted to A-League ratings later on in the pod, so we should get to that.
Fuck.
So just come in off the long run up, Ante, or leave early. One of the two. I'm taking over as host. Right. All Night Dwight needs more cowbell. MacArthur FC has a new coach, and it is a familiar face in the form of former Manchester United, Trinidad and Tobago striker, All Night Dwight Yorke.
Funny you haven't said coach. You've just said he's just a player.
Indeed, because this is the first actual full-time coaching job he will have ever held. He's recently completed his UEFA Pro license, and now, hot off the heels of being named as the A-Liga All-Stars coach again for their match against FC Barcelona, he has been tapped by the MacArthur Bulls to replace Ante Milicic as their coach. We'll let Ante stew on that. Josh, what was your reaction when you saw that Dwight Yorke was going to be leading out a team to the sound of cowbells at Campbelltown Stadium?
I want to know if anyone told him.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Leaving us in suspense. That's great.
Okay, you would all right. Like, what's going on? All
I
right,
don't know,
you want to
some
know if any?
StreamYard issue.
Yeah. You want to know if anybody told him what?
Where Campbelltown is and what it is.
Does he know
I think he's
about
going to be
the
sorely
cowbells?
disappointed when he thinks it's a new club in Sydney. I remember Sydney, I don't think it's going to go as he imagines.
I mean, is there anything more certain in life than him commuting an hour and a half each day to get from whatever McMansion or swanky apartment he gets put up in?
So wait, you're saying he's not going to be put up in a Metricon home? That's like.
Oh God! All right.
Well, sorry. Oh, by the way, guys, this is the first TNC since it has become official that the housing bubble will burst, guys. The housing and soccer bubble, the Australian housing and soccer comeuppance of 2022. Look,
I just need to give everybody an update. Our group chat has been nothing but this for weeks. Just breathless updates from Ante about how the Australian housing market is doomed.
Just like soccer.
He is the Australian.
And so this is like so. But I was thinking about this. What is the
what is a man?
What is the
miserable pile of secrets?
What is the
One hand goes up, Joseph. Anyway, what is the fiscal like the equivalent of fiscal policy to Dwight Yorke being MacArthur's coach?
Buying a lottery ticket.
It's
buying a stretch.
You know what? Thankfully, we were given the perfect.
Is it a collateralized debt obligation?
No, we were given the perfect, let's say, equivalent today by Scott Morrison. It's like dipping into super to buy a house, just to keep the show rolling. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Seriously. There are coaches out there in Australia who are good. Look, do your fucking job. Due diligence. Like, the mountain of sugar that is the A-League after this season will be fucking intolerable. It's going to be so hard to do this shit, man. I can't. I'm like to the point where I'm questioning like my sanity doing this. Because you put that in the context of Australia, like, struggling to qualify for a World Cup again, inevitably, while giving, coaches who are the least bad options in Australia, 7-figure salaries, and let's say praising mediocrity, which we've been guilty of even on this podcast, tonight. I mean, fuck, like, where are we going? What is the point of all this? How as a consequence of that, how do you draw inspiration from the footballing populace? How do you engage them in a way that's going to actually be profound and not purely as a transaction? Dwight Yorke, man.
But MacArthur haven't shown any signs that they have, a genuine strategy. They just their recruitment has been recruit the highest profile player from their rival teams in the competition.
Yeah,
that's literally all they've got.
And leak that you'd recruited them the same week that you were actually playing them in an important game. MacArthur playing Wellington, and the news happened to leaks that Ulysses De Villa has signed with MacArthur before they play Melbourne City in the semi-final. News leaks that they've signed Craig Noone for the next season. Transparent as all get out. Serious hat on, I have to agree with Ante on the appointment of Dwight Yorke. I interviewed him for ESPN. He seems very genuine about wanting to coach. I can't hold his desire to coach against him. He's gone out. No, this isn't a plug. The story's weeks old. This is context more so than anything else. I can't begrudge him wanting to coach. He's gone out. He's got his pro license. He mentions that he's gone back to Manchester to prepare for the All Stars game and to study and do all of that sort of stuff. I get the feeling that it's sort of like a situation wherein Dwight Yorke is absolutely sincere on his desire to be a coach and to, make a go of it. But he's just being not used because, he's going in with both eyes open, but nobody else sees him as that. MacArthur, I can't imagine a scenario where MacArthur look at all the options that would have been available to them and decide that Dwight Yorke was the most well-pedigreed and best-suited individual to lead them into what is a crucial third season for them. If they regress, if they go backwards and they finish a wooden spoon, they've barely got any fans as it is to lose. What exactly, it does begin, you ask the questions, what is the point of MacArthur if they can't even win, if they can't even play finals? Because, they seem to do a fantastic job of alienating their own fans, alienating, the rest of the Australian football public. What would be the point of MacArthur if they can't even shithouse results on the field? So I think it's incredibly short-sighted. I mean, we recently had a celebrity coach in this league with English Premier League experience in Robbie Fowler. What exact benefits did Brisbane Roar glean from Robbie Fowler's tenure in the A-League? That's a question to anybody else on this show, because I'm,
If you ask Robbie Fowler, sorry.
I'd like no, but serious answers before we get to our joke answers.
Okay.
What did Robbie?
Well, then let Ante go first.
Yeah. What did Robbie Fowler? what benefits did Robbie Fowler bring to Brisbane Roar?
I only had a joke answer as well. If you asked Robbie Fowler, he would have said he built Warren Moon's team for him.
And look where that got them.
Yeah, but I mean, with a serious hat on, what was the benefits of Robbie Fowler to Brisbane Roar?
The only benefit that he provided was to Melbourne City that it gave minutes to Aidan O'Neill. That's it.
So they made their rivals better.
Yeah, they made their rivals better because, I it's bad enough that. Sorry, I just hear an echo. It's bad enough that we have a bottleneck that exists within Australian coaching in the A-League. And now, am I saying that every coach in the NPL is like some tactical genius? No, far from it.
No, the NPL is mostly made up of football terrorists.
Terrorists, that's right. But there are coaches out there, and there are coaches who are ambitious. And there are coaches who have experience. But this is the reality that how many A-League clubs can really promote from within?
Melbourne City.
Well.
It was Sydney FC, but we've seen them arrive at a crossroads. Potentially Adelaide, if they keep things going. Perth are sort of promoting from within, but not really.
Mm.
If we're looking at clubs that can have sustained, if we're looking at clubs that you would argue have had sustained periods where you could argue they are developing coaches within, it would be Melbourne City and maybe Sydney FC. That's it. And that's without me, talking about how good the development has been, simply that they're doing it.
Ultimately, I mean, does a hire like this make any discussion on coaching development in Football Australia or by Football Australia or in Australian football redundant if A-League clubs are simply going to make these star fucker hires?
Well, I mean, in Dwight Yorke's defense, he's got to start somewhere,
Yeah, that's fine, but
where he's not going to go coach NPL, is he? He's Dwight Yorke.
Oh, that's understandable, but I mean,
the question has to be asked.
This is not against Dwight Yorke specifically. Yeah. It's about what Dwight Yorke represents in contrast to the malaise of Australian football and why we are where we are at this point in time. And yeah, I don't know how Australian football benefits from something like this. Or
and
even MacArthur Football Club, how they benefit from something like this.
I mean, the question is also, you can flip that around, Josh. Why is...
That's what I was going to say.
Yes. The question is, you can flip that around. Why is it the A-League that Dwight Yorke is getting his start in? It wouldn't have been his first choice. He's been after a job in England for years. He's based in the Middle East. Why is it that no clubs in England or the Middle East want him? Why has he had to come out to Australia to get his first gig? I know he's got the connection with Sydney FC, yada, yada, yada. That's ancient history. He went back to England after that. He's had a long career, doing other things. I know he's got some Boz's the connection. He's promoted the tour, but it is, how has it eventuated that Australia was the destination for Dwight Yorke? Why not somewhere in England or the Middle East or somewhere like that? Why Australia? That's one thing that I would, that you can flip that question.
Why
around.
not?
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, we've been talking so much about
which is Tony backwards.
Oh, lucky man!
What is wrong with StreamYard tonight? StreamYard.
I think we've got a saboteur in
Nick deciding that if he can't be the host, then no one can be on the show, and it's routinely kicking us out.
I mean, his thing's still there. Like, has he left or because he's little things still there in the top right? But
isn't there a horror?
Has anyone sent that fax, by the way, to check that he's okay?
Oh God, we're sorry, Nick. Oh, he is. He is. He's hanging out, removing us from the stream.
What a bastard. Anyway,
should we move on to
with Dwight? I'm just excited to have a coach in a press conference who's going to be fun to talk to. It's just and it's not going to just no sell every question that you give him.
Depends on how it goes.
So content is my answer, my serious answer, and my joke answer. Lachie?
Okay.
I just wanted to say how lamentable it is that from the minute when Dwight Yorke first came down here to announce the Manchester United tour, and your father, Joey, Michael Lynch, the great Michael Lynch, asked him if he had any ambitions of, being a coach in the A-League. The minute that question was asked, I just knew, and especially when he became the A-League All-Stars coach, it was also predictable. Like you knew that this would be the outcome the minute he was sort of in and around the environment, and the fact that it's happened in a week where we've had John Eloise rightly or wrongly praise the strength of Australian coaches in the league, and Ange Postecoglou being revered for the work that he's done, and we've turned to it is a managerial sugar hit, I guess. Like someone was complaining about the announcement of Dwight Yorke on the socials for MacArthur, little hype video is all footage of him playing. Well, yeah, of course it's of him playing. He doesn't have any videos of him walking the touchline, wanting to attack the board. He hasn't managed before.
There's no photos of Dwight Yorke looking off into the distance in a tracksuit.
So anyway,
with this post.
Anyway, just to surmise, disappointed but not surprised.
Yeah.
It's just such a fun show.
On the subject
of,
I
was hoping Sam Marmich would have hired another Balkanuts for shits and giggles, but this is really why I'm upset about the Dwight Yorke hire.
Yeah, if he was Yorkic, he'd be
Dwight Yorke
all over this. Yorkic,
Asanovic back now.
My God, guys!
Dvit Yorkic.
No, Dragan Yorkic.
Yeah.
All right. On the subject of sugar.
Oh fuck!
In Australia,
raise the balls,
sugar, then you get the money.
All right. On the subject of sugar, it was revealed this week by APL Managing Director Danny Townsend that the A-Leagues have a list of 35.
You just made the list. Like if you're uncontracted and over 35 on Transfermarkt player search, you just made the list. You know what happens when you're over 35? You know what happens when you're uncontracted?
Yes, that was the joke I was working towards, Ante. Thank you.
Is this the same list that Terry McFlynn used to scout his players as well?
I knew someone was going to bring that up. No, the APL has a list. 35 Del Piero level Marquees was the comparison that Townsend made, admittedly when prompted with the Del Piero comparison, that they want to bring in to the A-Leagues for next season. It is a sugar hit, and Danny Townsend admits as much, saying that the league needs sugar hits right now, so bring it on. Under further questioning after he had gotten down from the panel, I'm of the opinion that he didn't actually mean to reveal this, but it slipped out during the panel, at which point myself, Anna Harrington, and my old man, Michael Lynch, immediately grabbed him, put him in a corner, and asked him to elaborate. It seems as though the APL has identified these players and will work with clubs to figure out what your needs are. They will go to use an example, I am not saying this happens, they might go to the Newcastle Jets and ask, what do you need? The Newcastle Jets could respond, a central defender, at which point the two will collaborate to find a central defender from that marquee list, and the APL would help the Jets to sign them. That is how it will work in theory. Danny Townsend insists that no player will be forced upon a club, and all players are going to be contracted to the clubs, not the APL. So it is not an MLS type situation just yet. Okay, before we get Ante in off the long run up, I'll go around the rest of the chat. Lachie, what was your reaction when you first heard this?
I mean, go back to the sentence that I ended my last response with: disappointed but not surprised. You know what the league needs? Danny Townsend talking about the league needing a sugar hit. You know what the league needs? It needs a broadcaster that has a rewind function, a pause button. It needs a broadcaster that doesn't cut to an ad break during a goal in the finals. We don't need these big star signings that may do some interesting things, may put some bums on seats, and then come and go. We don't need that. Like we need the basic fundamentals. We need a hub for football that actually provides the things you'd be interested in. Like we need the app that actually, in Keep Up, that actually delivers the kind of things that fans want. Like, I don't know. I feel like the Marquees thing is fun, maybe for 1 to 2 seasons, and then they go, and the people go with them. Like, and then what is my question?
And then they come back and coach in the A-League 15 years later. So it's the development pipeline. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, we're not using enough.
Some of the comments on the same wavelength as Lachie. So, Josh, what was your reaction when you heard it?
You saw it. I wasn't really paying attention this week, so I heard it when you just said it just then. But no, I'm kidding. Look, I would be in favor of this if I had any faith in the people picking these players. That's really it. Like if I was confident that they would pick players who would not only have the name recognition, but also bring quality and excitement to the competition and wouldn't be a massive waste of the private equity money that's been poured in, then I would be backing this. But I don't. I don't have any faith in these people, and I just think they're going to make shit decisions and get duped by agents, and we're going to waste a whole lot of money that could have been better spent.
I mean, speaking of these people, like who are they exactly? These faceless men who will be making.
Who are you?
Who are you? Like
TNC does the federal election. The faceless men.
Schwarzenegger in Conan the Barbarian. Who are you? But like seriously, who will be making these decisions on with respect to the legitimacy of a marquee, a world class marquee? Like ignoring the very paradox that exists in a world class marquee existing in the A League, because if they were world class, they wouldn't be in the fucking A League. Like,
well, I think I do need to interrupt because I think my banner has summoned him. If you put Iniesta on the stream for a certain amount of time, he appears. Nick Stahl.
Live from the hospital. You good?
I just came to say, Iniesta, la 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 la, Andres Iniesta, la 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 la, Andres Iniesta, la 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 la.
Look,
Andres
I don't,
Iniesta,
I
la
don't,
la
I
la
don't want, I don't want Iniesta topping up his super just so he can buy a $800,000 property in bumfuck Penrith. All right, like, look,
man. Whatever we need to do to get Iniesta here, we do it. I'm live from the hospital, and because I'm making sure that we make cutbacks to hospitals so we can afford Iniesta. All right, he's all's going.
Hey, but you don't have a duvet in the hospital.
Look,
imagine
broadcasting live from this hospital, so I have to go. But I just wanted to make that very important point that let's bring Iniesta.
Oh, thank you, Nick Stoll. Thank you, Nick
Insight.
Stoll, for that fantastic insight.
Adios.
Adios. Listen. Well, I think not to go full heel turn here with this. I think I'm sort of aligned with Josh in the sense that, like, I don't have a problem with the APL deciding to spend their private equity money for hocking off a portion of the league on this if they want. That's fine. Well, my problem will be if this sugar hit, as you know, Danny Townsend is now on the record acknowledging it as, comes to the detriment of all the other reforms and the other steps, such as the ones that Lachie mentioned in his.
It does.
I wouldn't.
Like, by definition, it does. Like, sorry to cut you off, but like, this existing undermines the very legitimacy of this footballing competition because you are hiring these players for non-footballing reasons. Like, if you bring such a player to this competition on the basis that they are not here simply for footballing reasons, this is a circus. This isn't a footballing competition.
That happens in every football league, though.
Not overtly.
Why did Man United buy Cristiano Ronaldo? Why did PSG buy Lionel Messi? Even the best players in the world.
That happens as a byproduct. That happens as a byduct. That's not specifically put bums on seats. The primary motivation is for them to fucking win.
You think Man United bought Cristiano Ronaldo because they wanted to win?
Because they thought they wanted to win. Why did they sign Varane? Why did they sign Sancho as well? Did they probably sold a shit ton of jersey sales with Sancho as well? Like, their primary motivation is still to win. The primary motivation for this is to put bums on seats.
Well, ostensibly that's the APL's primary motivation.
Ostensibly, and by extension, the clubs.
Can I get Lachie in here?
I literally just wanted to say maybe Manchester United did sign someone like Cristiano Ronaldo for potentially some non-footballing reasons as well. But have we seen how they've played? Like, they are shit. They are not a good team.
Yeah, so
it hasn't worked. Like, non-footballing reasons or not. The players they brought in have been really poor, and that's been the case for a long time pre-Ronaldo.
Yeah, but we're going to go into areas of the fact that fucking football's operational model is broken, and the idea of scouting and what constitutes functional football teams is completely fucking flawed. But coming back to this, like, this is it's like I said, these are not footballing motivations, and in a time where we should be looking at the pitch first and foremost as a means to improve where we are, and as a means of rejuvenating and recovering from where we are in our current status, this is a complete fucking opposite of doing that. Pure and plain and simple.
Maybe I'm giving too much credit. But surely, if we're talking in theory, there is a scenario in which clubs do bring in players that actually fill holes. Would you acknowledge that? In theory,
yes,
it exists.
In theory. In practice.
In theory. Well, that's
communism doesn't fucking work. Sorry to the honourable member of Seoul, but
I don't know quite know how to respond to that. But that was my point. In theory, this could work. I am probably of the sense I probably don't think it will work because, as I said, I wouldn't have a problem with it if it didn't come to the detriment of all of the other things that need to be worked on.
I don't see how this is communist, by the way, Ante. It's a bunch of suits making a decision that's going to affect people further down the chain. I think it's capitalism pure and simple, man.
I'll look at it. I'll look at it this way. I mentioned this during the week when it happened. On the same day that Football Australia, released or announced their club licensing regulations, Danny T has come out and said, we need more marquees. We need proper marquees because marquees go brrr. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Sorry to ask this for now the third or fourth or fifth time tonight, but I have no idea what this competition means. And, fuck, it's not. And COVID's probably, I wrote about this before COVID. COVID has probably accelerated this plateauing.
I'm just
I think we should move on. But
no,
Joey, one more point.
Yeah, I just like I said, I think it can work. And trying to be fair, you can see why the APL are doing this because the league's dying. And even if you did decide, all right, we're going to just focus on fixing the football, as you said, Ante, would the A-League on its current trajectory still exist at the end of that process? Because it's not a one-year fix. It's a decade-long project.
Yeah, because they pissed away a decade and a half, almost 2 decades now.
Well, yeah,
I understand that,
but to use an economic, that's a sunk cost. That's a sunk cost. What's happened?
The reality is, yes, there is an understanding that things need to be fixed. Why they need to be fixed is where the disparity lies.
No, I'm not going to argue
because
that.
The sustainability of models, the sustainability of the football in both a domestic and international sense, it's not existent. And this does nothing to remedy that.
What if it buys time to fix those things?
Just like quantitative easing, it doesn't buy time. The bullshit catches up with you eventually.
This is so on brand, by the way.
Oh well, I mean, can I go nuclear with a? Can I go?
My name's Yorke, by the way.
I think he's just Homer Legend has just slandered the coach of Sydney FC Women's. So,
I mean, if I could go nuclear with the compare, it doesn't always have to be like that. I mean, at times they were throwing chemotherapy at me just to buy me time until something else could fix it.
Fuck, sorry.
I disagree in the sense that, I don't think this is ideal whatsoever. But I can see the reasoning why. And given that this is inevitably happening, the owners should be focusing on making sure they do all the other shit that they need to do. You talk about the club licensing framework. Let's encourage that shit. Let's get this stuff along so we can get a national second division introduced and finally work towards Pro Rel. Let's do all of that sort of stuff. Let them use their own money. If a club, if they want to sign Daniel Sturridge to play 136 minutes, it's their money. I don't give a shit if they lose their money. I'm just going to keep talking about all the other stuff they should be doing.
At the same time, okay, you know what? I'm not going to get into pro rel areas tonight. I'm just going to accept my status as SMFC Mike tonight. So.
On that point, I'll say that if you speak the truth, but you sound like a crazy person while you're doing it, then no one will take you seriously. That's
fine.
Well, no, Anthony, I don't think of you like that.
No, I get it. But I just feel that there is a fundamentally flawed conceptual misinterpretation of why the A-League is in such a malaise. But that's aligned with why the A-League exists to begin with. Football was never the motivation.
Yeah. But then that comes back to the question, how do you examine this stuff? What framework do you use to examine it?
Yeah.
Is it even possible to use a pure footballing context to analyze this stuff when it fundamentally isn't a pure footballing concept?
I believe so, because ultimately, I think football ultimately wants to see a national team succeed, or the ultimate health of a footballing infrastructure. Well, I mean, those who do have, let's say, altruistic motives and intentions, and although the path to hell is laid with good intentions. Ultimately, yeah, I think a competition like the A-League would still be subservient to something like that, and that's why that's why I do view the A-League still within the prism of improving the game as a whole. Does the A-League improve the game as a whole?
I think
on the pitch, absolutely not.
I think my focus with this is each side, at the end of the day, at best, is only going to be able to afford one of these marquees from this fund. That leaves 10 other blokes on the pitch, 6 or 7 blokes on the bench. If the APL want to have one of the slots for this marquee, bums on seats type, who, I mean, it can be hoped actually knows how to kick a ball. They would have had to have known how to kick a ball at one point. How can, what is happening with those other 10 positions on the park? What are the decisions that the coaches is being made? But like these are separate conversations, I think, from the marquee. Like I said, you can glumly accept the marquees and try to push for the other stuff, is what I reckon.
And hey, if we get Lewis Nani at Melbourne Victory, that'd be fun. Why not? Why not? That's my answer to everything tonight. Why the hell not?
Why the hell not?
All right, let's talk about 16 blokes and start talking about some women's football, our League of Women's to be precise. Joey, Western United confirmed as a participant in ALW next season. Your thoughts?
I mean, it's good. More opportunities for women to play, ostensibly. Now that you have added another team, that must come with an expansion of the season, which is the real important reforms. It's professionalising and expanding the competition.
Is Calder United the first MPL side to get promoted to the A-League via continued excellence in their state-based competition?
You remember in Austin Powers Gold Member when they're talking about, technically it isn't. Yes, with Godzilla. It's like that. Technically, they're not, because this is a completely different entity than Calder United. But yes. Yeah.
Hey, we got pro. We're halfway there, guys. We're halfway there.
I mean, it's good. This means that there's an entire new roster's worth of opportunities for women to play football at the highest level in this country. There's more opportunities for coaches. There's more opportunities for administrators. There's more opportunities to go around. Yeah, and as I said, it'll expand the season. Mariners making moves as well to come in. That's all good. This kind of to be honest, I'm most pleased because I genuinely didn't think during the A-League women's season, when we were getting games postponed, everything was in chaos. It kind of felt like we were just trying to rush it out the door as quickly as possible before something else went wrong with it. I didn't think this was happening this off-season. I thought the can was getting kicked down the road. And if the can's getting kicked down the road until after the Women's World Cup, I have no idea when you're going to do it. If you don't do it before a home Women's World Cup, you're never going to do this stuff. So I'm pleased to see it happen. I'm pleased to, more stuff is coming. Just let's watch this space. The announcement happened of Western United happened with Western United pushing it. APL has more stuff planned. That's what I'm told. So that can only be a good thing for the women's game in this country. We've gone too long just treating women's football as just an afterthought, something that you maybe throw a few bucks at after you've finished allotting the budget for your men's program. Anything we can then do to improve that is fine by me. It's good by me.
I guess the only risk of expansion is the correlatory expansion, or the in disparity between the best and the worst teams in the league. That's probably the only pitfall of something like this. But ultimately, these are people, or these are people who deserve the right to have a professional status if they're going to play for so long.
Yeah, and we've seen in the A-League women's competition that in terms of the gap between the best teams and the worst teams, it can almost entirely be closed just by investing and giving a shit about your women's team. So people say, "Oh, the talent will be stretched too thin." No, the talent will go where people give a shit about them.
And they actually develop the talent. The talent is like, players are not the finished article. Like, even at the highest levels of football, players are not the finished article. You can always improve. Like
you look at somebody like Polly Doran at Melbourne Victory. She has improved every year under Jeff Hopkins. She was not A-League women's standard in her first season. That didn't mean that she could never get to that point. She was just developed by Melbourne Victory and, ironically enough, Calder United. So, just because we perceive...
Still wears the Calder jackets at MSA as well.
Yeah. She's a top player.
Yeah.
Top player. So it's great.
Lovely little player.
I've got a fucking wheeler dealer, right?
And let me tell you, Polly Doran will achieve much more in football than... I can't say that.
And then all of a sudden, one of the players tries to smack the ball at Jeff Hopkins' head. That's why you're not playing in the fucking ones.
There ain't no doubt about that, in my opinion.
Lachie, you're not happy about all this.
No. I'm giggling away. Trust me. I just think it's very cool that Western, with the sort of Calder partnership, will have a pathway as well. Not just, it's not just an A-League women's team that is getting involved in the competition. It's everything that Calder have got beneath that, with juniors, and hopefully that's not the last time we see that.
I mean, that does have to be the next step for women's football in this country. We need to figure out how to develop players in the most efficient manner. And I know there's all manner of politics involved in it. But we need to figure out how to provide players the best opportunities to develop and to give them pathways.
Ultimately, that's still a relationship of convenience. Because it's not like Western United are actually trying to do the same thing for boys or men's academy. They're trying to cut costs as much as they can in that respect. So the fact that Calder already have it for them allows them to, Western shouldn't get credit for that.
I'm not giving them credit. I'm just
just in relation to Lachie's point.
Yeah.
Like, that's a relationship of convenience.
But it's for the best.
Because ultimately, you got to look at it. Like, I think at the end of the day, in contrast, NPL or academy setups in A-League largely only exist to meet AFC regulations, so their teams can qualify. So for the senior teams can qualify for the Asian Champions League. Full disclosure, I've asked this question in academy meetings at an A-League club. Like,
what are we doing here?
What are we doing here? And it's a cost exercise. And so the fact that Calder already had a setup there, it's fine.
This is why Ante is so popular in the break room. But speaking of which, Home Legend. So we went through the whole A-League Marquee chat without actually going over any potential names. Well, Diego Costa out of contract. That might be fun.
Zlatan.
Always Zlatan. Always popping up again.
Hal Robson-Kanu is a free
Hal
agent.
Robson-Kanu. I love that.
World class. Hal Robson-Kanu.
Make it happen. Make it happen. Hey, he scored in a he scored in the Euros.
That goal against Belgium though.
Yeah,
it was. I'll tell you what. Gareth Bale's a free agent.
Wales, A-Liga, golf in that order.
Just offer him a golf. Offer him a golf
Australian
course
City
somewhere.
has the best golf courses. Surely there's.
For so long, we've been talking about it's the surf that attracts footballers. No, it's the
golf courses.
Right? It's the golf courses.
King of the golf course.
Isn't the President's Cup here later this year?
Hey, you know who is a free agent? Yaya Sanogo. Lockie's in. Lockie's suddenly in on the idea.
Okay, what were we talking about? Managers being appointed for content reasons? Sanogo. Yeah, good point. Where is Joel Campbell?
Oh, what about Gio Dos Santos? Legitimately. I would froth that. He's a baller.
I can't remember.
I'd have Gio Dos Santos in the league.
Yeah. I can't remember when he went where he went after LA Galaxy in the R-League Men's US.
Doesn't he have some Australian connection that keeps getting talked about? Doesn't he have like some like
Oh,
Aussie wife?
He said he'd like to holiday here once or something.
It was like
yeah, just once. There you go.
on the subject of holidays, didn't Javi Martinez once express an interest in backpacking through Australia?
Surely it's too late.
Just
I don't know if Cristiano.
Sorry, it's not too late for Zlatan and Diego Costa, but it's too late. It's too late for Javi Martinez.
I mean, yeah, Cesc Fabregas is a free agent.
Mauro Zarate is a deep cut.
I'd be on board with that.
Man United might cut
He
Cristiano.
would get injured in
Ronaldo.
3.5 seconds on an A-League pitch.
Maybe Cristiano finally wants to go to Perth, like they've been teasing for how long is it now?
What's our what's our extradition status to the US? I'm not sure. No reason.
Asking for a friend.
No,
asking the question.
Unrelated question.
Yeah, related to the question of why Man United are touring Australia and not LA and New York and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Does it like? Didn't Zlatan have like a link to Perth or something?
Yes, he did. I distinctly remember Mark Redan being asked about it in a press conference and it had nothing to do with him, and he absolutely ethered the journalist.
Why does every... Well, who knows? Who knows? Maybe Paris gets sick of Lionel Messi's shit and Adelaide actually do give him all of the Barossa Valley to come and play with them.
Isco's contract is expiring.
He's been given the Space Jam contract. He's like,
hey,
he's done, man.
Ante, let me riddle me this. Your position on this Marquee system would immediately reverse if Isco were to sign.
No,
I'll tell you what. No, hold on. Doesn't Luka Modric's contract with Real Madrid end at the end?
He's had a rolling 1-year contract now for God knows how long.
Yeah,
because love of the game instead of love of the fame, Joseph. Remember that.
How much of your, on a scale of 1 to 10? How
that's
much
why he's
of
playing
your
for Real Madrid, the most famous team in the world?
Like his quote is, "Once you leave Real Madrid, it's all downhill from there." Imagine going from Real Madrid to like the A-Liga men's.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10,
that's like hitting supernova, like going down.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much of your world would come crashing down if tomorrow Luka Modric was unveiled at Western Sydney Wanderers?
Oh, you'd enjoy that, wouldn't you, Joseph?
Yes, so much.
I would love it. I would
love it. Yeah, but
now let me tell you, the APL still has to go and get someone.
How about that?
Instead of a 14-point lead, you've got 35 opportunities to get.
I've got a list of 35 players. I would love it. I would love it if you got Luka. I would love it.
Oh God, I'm dying. Oh God.
That's our show.
I do have to give a shout as a former Daily Football Show alum. Danny Welbeck's a free agent. Shout out to Rob. Shout out to Rob Crawford. Danny Welbeck.
Maybe he really could be that guy if he came to the A-Liga.
That guy Welbs. Well,
Lucky.
I mean, after we've experienced the enjoyment of an English marquee from the Premier League, whose injury troubles keep them basically away from the pitch for the entirety of the season, Danny Welbeck's a good option. But the other one, Jack Wilshere, is absolutely on that list of names. Like, now that I think about it, he has got to be coming down here and repeating the Sturridge experiment.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Lachie would love it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. That Jack Wilshere, and the other one that I would always think of with respect to like A-Liga men's marquees, Hatem Ben Arfa.
Oh. He was linked to Western United pretty strongly, wasn't he? Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I will die.
It's like the Amantis pick at Victory. The one that got away.
Well, I mean, I will die on the hill that when you look at the Marquee as a concept, the ultimate A-League men's Marquee, which will now never happen because he's retired, was Peter Crouch. England international, played for some of the biggest Premier League clubs in the world. He's funny. He would have done all the media. He looks weird, so he would have, had the cult figure thing going. He absolutely would have been the quintessential A-League Marquee.
Hang on. Talking about people who can lean into their social followings to bring added benefits outside of the pitch to the A-League. Ben Foster, keeper/YouTuber. Add him to the list.
Goalkeeper Marquee.
39 years of age. You can get him to do his pre-match vlogs.
Actually, they would sign Ben Foster, and then the media department, the APL, wouldn't let him put his GoPros in the goal. I mean, a violation of the broadcast terms. That's what happened. Oh, Ryan HD says, "What about Juan Mata?" That's actually a very good shout. I mean, I would. Great guy, great footballer, would thrive in a slightly slower league. I think he'd be a top selection. Anyway, so we played fantasy football for quite a while there, Homer Legend. I hope you're happy. I certainly am. Hey, you know what? This is why we should be in favor of this policy, because it's endless fodder for bullshit podcasts till the end of time. Is who should be on the Marquee list next season, and whether someone should or shouldn't be, and the names they pick out, are they good or bad? Like, this is just a gold mine for podcast content till the end of time. So I think we should be.
The funniest.
The official A-Leagues podcast can make a YouTube clip of it, monetize their YouTube clip of talking about Marquees, and then fund a Y-League with it.
All right, finally, Ange wins. He's clinched the cinch. He's won the Scottish Premiership.
Nice.
And is this the greatest moment in the history of Australian football, as seemed to be the reaction on the TL? Hey, it's pretty cool.
It's monumental, but come on now. Like, we're big on hyperbole, but did we not, I would equate winning an international tournament with the national team far greater than, an individual achievement for someone. However big an individual achievement it is, and within a sporting sense, what an individual has achieved within the history of Australian sport is massive. But yeah, I'm steering clear of that one.
Well, I mean, first things first. Well done, Toros. Hope Nick DeBarno's watching the stream for that one.
There he is.
When does Volpato's contract to Roma expire? Firstly, I agree with Ante. International football will always come above club football. Oh,
hey! Ladies and gentlemen,
we got him.
Speaking of summoning people by saying names into the mirror, I think someone just said Bloody Mary 3 times.
Bloody Volpato, Bloody Volpato, Bloody Volpato.
13 minutes.
Yeah, yes or no, Nick? Were you just hanging out, removing us from the stream as an act of revenge?
No, I don't know what the hell was going on. I wasn't there. I actually gave up. I shut down my laptop and I was like, I'm out of here. I'm being legit. I don't know.
Okay. But okay, back to what I was saying.
Candyman.
No, that's what you say this 3 times, and Nick DeBarno appears.
Are we okay? So are we going to talk about his 15 minutes off the bench or not?
Yes, do it. It's gold.
Yeah, Ange's been done.
What do you guys want to talk about?
All right. Let me just say with Ange, I did want to actually say one serious point.
And
I will agree with Ante in the sense that international football will always come first. Asian Cup isn't surpassed by any of his club achievements, I don't think. I've seen some talk around the fact that, he's just won the Scottish League with Celtic. It's 50-50 that you're going to do that. Which I can see the logic.
50-50.
I can see the logic behind that. And yes, once you're in the door, it probably isn't the hardest task in the world. I think in that context, though, you have to take into account how difficult it would have been for him to get in the Celtic door in the first place. The achievement of winning the league with Celtic isn't just going out there and picking up enough points to beat Rangers in this sense. It's the fact that he got hired in the first place and how difficult that would have been for him with the, let's be honest, the Australia stink on him. The fact that he was able to even get it to the door, I think, makes this probably the most notable of his achievements at Clubland, just surpassing the Yokohama win.
Also, he had a pretty big job this season at Celtic. He completely
fixing
rebuilt that
Celtic.
team. By all accounts, he was signing pretty much all of the players himself because their football department was useless. So it was a big job. It was a big job, and he did it. So props.
Questionable eye and data test. Ooh, wow.
Lucky.
I mean, they were 22 points behind last season. Like we're talking about a near 30-point. Like, yes, it's between them and Rangers every season. We all know that, but it's a 30-point turnaround. It's, as you said, he hasn't just been responsible for the tactics. He's been responsible for those signings, and the vast majority of the players that he's brought in have been smash hits at Celtic Park. Hatate made Furuhashi all been great. Giakoumakis, when he came back from injury, has been outstanding in that sort of second half of the season since his return to scores. Awesome goals.
Let's look at it this way. Josip Juranovic looks like Danny Alves in the SPFL against HER, ATS. If you can spell it, then here's what it says. Glorious.
Still though, historically for Celtic, there have been a lot of players that managers have brought in and have completely flopped in that league despite their credentials. Ange hasn't done that. They've worked, and after 5 games, Celtic didn't have the best start. It didn't look like it was gonna work out. But Ange has also been able to achieve this result by, unsurprisingly, because it's Ange. But many other managers would have maybe folded, played something a bit safer, tried to grind out results. But Ange has been pretty uncompromising in his sort of tactical principles in this run, and that deserves credit as well to go from there and then win the league.
With that in mind, I'm more intrigued. If he's able to sustain his level next year, then that's probably a bigger achievement than what happened this year. Because this was a very similar thing that happened with Yokohama. They won the cup. He had the full season, in the J League, blitzed the J League. Second season, Ange had to kind of adjust. And this is a remarkable achievement in its own right. But if Celtic stay on the mountaintop essentially next year in Scotland, that's massive.
Especially considering they'll have to,
and not only that, if they perform better in Europe than they did
Champions
last,
League.
Yeah,
because they're straight into the Champions League.
I remember watching the qualifiers against Midtjylland, and they weren't great, but if the second full season is an improvement on this first, which has obviously been positive in its own right, then that's probably a bigger achievement than this season.
Especially considering he'll have to do it against the reigning Scottish Cup champions, which will be nuts. Yeah.
Okay.
So I had to get one in. I'm done.
And having said all that stuff about Ange, I mean, Celtic are not the talk of the tune. It's the boys in maroon.
Can we actually take genuine advantage of the fact that we actually have somebody that watches the team other than Celtic and Rangers on the pod? We actually have a.
We do exist, guys. We do exist.
Rare advantage for the pod. Lachie, how have you seen Cameron Devlin and Nathaniel Atkinson in the Scottish Premiership?
Devlin has been excellent. He got injured about 2 months ago. It kept him out for a while. But I have, my cousins who are Hearts season ticket holders, in the motherland. That's technically the fatherland, but anyway. And these guys have been raving about Cammy from day dot. He has been an absolute smash hit. They've loved his yeah, exactly. He's tenacious, and I think I think that's what Robbie Nielsen wants in a midfielder, more combative. And he has done a really, really excellent job. And I'm glad to see him back, hopefully hoisting the Scottish Cup next week.
And if Everton, and as we were saying last night, if Everton get relegated, that helps you guys even more.
It does, because we can keep Ellis Sims, but he's not Australian, so I'll put him to one side. The other massive thing for Cammy is that he's not just impressed with his play on the pitch, but also his attitude off it. Like, he's a player who, because he is so tenacious and because he plays with passion, I think ingratiates himself to a fan base really well. And I think that's maybe something that another club might also like, that part of his game. As for Atkinson, I think he's had games where he's been up to that level, in a sort of 8 out of 10 performance up with Cammy, but he's probably been a little bit less consistent, I would say. He's played in that sort of right wing back role at times in a 3, which is, not something he's unused to, but I think there's been a few times where maybe he's been caught out defensively. So I think Devlin smash hit. Atkinson, I think, probably needs some more time, because he has been pretty up and down when he's played in a hard shirt. And the fact that he was benched last night against Rangers is somewhat indicative of that.
Now, Italy. And then you can tell us a bit about how Milan are winning the league as well, Nick.
Okay. First of all, apologies for the internet cutting out that many times. Tonight's just been like an all-time low, and it wasn't even the microwave this time. But I think once I start talking
the oven
about
this time, Nick.
No. It was, honestly, like, while I was away, that was my investigation, working out what the hell was going on. And
we demand an investigation into Nick's internet.
We need a royal commission into this microwave.
You know what? When I start talking about Volpato, I won't be surprised if everyone in soccer Twitter congregates outside my house with generators and the same microwave and tries to cook my internet again to make sure that I don't keep going.
They're not trying to cook your internet. They're trying to cook popcorn, Nick.
Okay. No. Okay. So look, No. That was actually a pause. That was not a forced pause. That was just me, actually.
No, I was reading the comment.
Okay. So the way I see it is, look, good that he got some minutes this morning. For context, these are actually his first minutes since that goal that sent soccer Twitter into absolute meltdown. And we spoke about it last week about, the XG of that goal and how it was so low, and how was it the lowest?
Goals minus XG is the highest disparity in all top 5 leagues.
Yeah. So you could see that goal came from nowhere. And look, it's good to see he got some minutes this morning. But again, as we've said from day one, you got to take into context in this situation. Roma were throwing everything at the kitchen sink in this game. They had 46 shots against Venezia and still drew 1-1. I'm not going to lie, I haven't had a chance to actually go back and watch his 15-minute cameo, but based off his stats, he got in some okay areas. He did all right. But again, when we're talking about context about where Roma are at right now, I don't know if we're going to see much more of him if they've got nothing to play for. Now, remember, Roma have a Conference League final in a week and a half's time. So next week's game, last game of the season, might actually be a good opportunity for him to get some minutes, depending on where Roma are at in their league, sort of in the standings. Like, if they're not playing for anything, if say tonight, Lazio, well, actually, I think Lazio have already, they're playing tonight. And if Fiorentina and Atalanta also get results, it's going to be hard for them to finish 5th or 6th. So you might actually see Volpato, whether it's a start or whether it's a roll off the bench, because they're going to save everyone for that opportunity to win the Conference League against Feyenoord in a few days after that. So this actually presents decent opportunity for him. A lot of people, as I've said from day one, they think that I'm out here to shit on this kid, when in reality, I'm not trying to shit on him. I am just trying to be honest about if any 17-year-old, whether he was playing for Australia, America, any sport, what it might be, if he's not ready, he's not ready. And I'm sorry, but a 15-minute cameo still doesn't cut it. And I will sit on that, till we actually see him playing consistently. And Primavera minutes do not count. Please do not bring freaking Primavera minutes into it, because I've seen so many players throughout time dominate the Primavera, go to the top league, and are just not up to it. I'm not saying Christian Volpato is the same, but it's comparing apples and oranges, as I said all the way back in February. I feel like I'm rehashing a bloody script at the moment. And the other thing as well is, we're going to talk. If he plays next week, we are also going to get that talk again. Should we pick him for the June games? One, if you pick him for the Jordan game, which you can, he will be part of the squad to play against the UAE and potentially Peru. So the answer is no, don't pick him, because these are two all-important games and you need your best players on deck. And right now, Volpato hasn't proved to me that he's actually in the best 23 right now. Now, if he comes out, as Run the Meme says, he comes out and scores a hat-trick next week, maybe I'll be, maybe slightly swayed. But then again, though, we have to talk about context, guys. Soman Tachoy from West Brom scored 4 goals on the final day of the season one year in a game that meant nothing. Where's Soman Tachoy? It happens.
To be fair, Romelu Lukaku also did that, and now he's
Lukaku, you mean? But in terms of
he's playing like shit without a midfield again. Exactly.
So the point is that we need to again, and I just hate that we keep talking about this same thing about that we have to keep having this conversation, but please just freaking pump the brakes again, guys. 15 minutes off the bench is 15 minutes. Mourinho right now is going to play as many of his squad players as possible ahead of that game against Feyenoord, because he'll want to win a trophy. That for them is, if they win the trophy, that's a successful season for them. Even if they finish 7th or 8th, it's silverware for them. It's European silverware. And for Roma, they haven't won silverware since, I'd say they've never won European silverware, I don't think, from memory.
Early 70s from memory. Let me check.
Yeah, so we're talking 50 years ago, and they haven't won a piece of silverware in about 2 decades now. I think the last one was the Serie A in the early 2000s.
Their last European trophy, they won the Anglo-Italian Cup in 1972.
Put it like this:
they've made European finals, but they haven't actually won trophies.
Their only other European trophy was in 1960-61. They won the Intercity Fairs Cup,
which is the UEFA Cup or the European.
And another point as well is the last trophy Roma have isn't even a trophy; it's a bonsai tree.
The bonsai tree.
Famous photo of Alessandro Florenzi holding up a bonsai tree after a preseason tournament. So look, I honestly, I would love to see, Volpato kick on the next few games. And if he had the dream fairy tale run and got an opportunity in the Conference League final, but with Mkhitaryan coming back, it's going to be hard for him to get back in the squad. He wasn't in the squad today, so I presented that opportunity for him. So again, please guys, every time he comes on, don't, get all excited and start thinking, yep, we're going to pick him straight away, because knowing Arnie and knowing the squad he's going to select as well, we'll talk about squad selection the next few weeks as we get closer to that. He's not going to. Maybe there might be a certain Jason Cummings or a few others, but I can't see him going and making wholesale changes with players he has not worked with in that system. I could see him sticking with type.
With that all being said, imagine if Volpato and Hrustic come on and make impacts in both finals.
It would be absolutely amazing. It'd be cool. It would be absolutely awesome for the Aussie storyline as well. It would be awesome to have Aiden Hrustic win the Europa League and then Christian Volpato plays against Feyenoord and Roma win the Conference League. But again, please, let's just give it some time. And he's going to get there. I'd love to see him next season go out on loan. I'd love to see him go to a Serie B team or a lower Serie A promoted side, one of them, and just get, play 25 games, play 30 games, whether it's, get those opportunities, whether he starts, comes off the bench. It'd be great for his development. And, we know how Roma give opportunities to players that come through the system. We've seen it with Felix Fenejan. We've seen it with Zalewski this season. If he plays well and he takes those opportunities on loan, there's no reason why he can't get integrated back into the team. It's just a matter of whether Mourinho, what Mourinho we get from this. So, I guess we just have to wait.
Do you reckon he could get a loan move within Serie A?
Well, it depends which club, Ante.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Cremonese just got promoted. They're a low-budget team. Why not?
He could probably go to
Salernitana, Cremonese, Lecce. They've both been promoted.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule out, let's say, Hellas as well.
Yeah, or Spezia as well, or one of the playoff teams. Really, anyone, like most of those teams in the bottom half of the table, you would say that he could definitely be an asset for. So he could play, he'd get picked up and could actually feature.
I think Lachie's just laughing at you guys naming really obscure Italian teams.
No. It's because you guys said Hellas. I immediately thought, well, Volpato, he could do a stint in the NPL.
Look, hey, if Christian Volpato wants to come play the NPL, like, all right, let's have some
I should
fun
be
with that.
absolutely clear. South Melbourne, not Hellas.
Yeah.
South Melbourne.
Like Verona is Kiev, so you know.
Yeah, because Kiev obviously folded, so there's only one team in Verona now. But yes,
on the subject of our boys kicking goals in Europe, this is the first show we've done since Toulouse sealed promotion to the Uber Eats. So
the Uber Eats won.
Uber Eats won. So congratulations to Denis Genre.
I found it interesting to see that the same scout who was working with Brentford.
He's at Toulouse.
He's at Toulouse now. So they've made some good recruits off the pitch, I think.
Well, I mean, this pod has done to death the role that Denis Genre should have in the Socceroos moving forward. So I'm not going to touch that, but just I've known Dennis, for a number of years, covered him when he was still at Melbourne City's Youth Academy. Very much deserved. One of the best blokes I've ever met in football. So just on a personal level, really happy for him. Obviously, as a footballer, he's earned this. He's good enough to do this, and I can't wait to see him put Lionel Messi in his back pocket next season. Shout out to Nick Stoll.
You know how much fun it's going to see, not just like Toulouse's midfield is
it's a good midfield.
It's pretty fucking fun. And it's good. Even in comparison to a lot of midfields in the Uber Eats one. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how they go. But there was a comment that was that was made when Toulouse won the title. I'm gonna miss watching the Tuesday mornings because my day off is on the Tuesday, so I get to watch Toulouse on the Monday because they play on the Monday nights in the Uber Eats too. And we're not gonna get that next year, but it's been a fun old season watching Toulouse.
Well, let me put it this way: if Toulouse do the yo-yo and go straight back down, I don't think Denis Genre will be gone. I don't think they do. I don't think they do either. But even if they do, I don't think Denis Genre is going back down with them.
Yeah.
How weird is it talking about Uber Eats that Bordeaux and Saint Etienne are getting relegated as well? Talking about big clubs getting relegated. I was only having a look at the league
Melbourne
table
Victory
last
Light,
night.
you mean?
Yeah.
Melbourne Victory's French affiliate.
Well, they couldn't be Melbourne Victory Light because when Victory finished last, they weren't relegated.
Bordeaux was the sacrifice to ensure that Victory didn't get relegated. What did it cost? Everything.
Joseph says Salernitana aren't signing anyone under 32. Shout. Speaking of the conference, let's answer this one. No, not this one. This one. How would you guys feel about Kuehl coaching in the A-League men one day? Do you think he's good enough? A few responses to this.
I haven't seen
NPL's his level. He hasn't been good enough. He's been sacked several times. I don't know. His appetite for taking on these lower league jobs is quite interesting to me.
I think his appetite is because he knows what will happen if he gets, as I mentioned with Ange Postecoglou, the Australia stink. He probably knows how hard it will be to get another job in England if his last job's the A-League.
Isn't there still a vacancy at Dandy City? Sorry, because they said NPL level. I had to say it.
Hey, this is
isn't there a vacancy at Sydney United as well?
I'm steering clear of that one too.
Hey, Nick, this is what I think of the Dandy City vacancy.
To be fair, I don't care.
To me, it's funny. That's also a reaction when an A-League job opens up.
Yeah, it's true. But then again, do you have the stink on you anyway if your last job is Barnett in the National League and he only coaching 7 games?
Are you guys surprised that we haven't heard the Perth glory, like Tony Sage going on SEN radio in Perth and saying that they're going after Harry Kuehl just because of high NRI? Just going
it's only a matter of time.
I mean, we've identified that the bar for being an A-League manager based off this week is no experience required. So Harry Kuehl is already a couple of steps up on MacArthur's current manager.
We should have a photo of either Robbie Fowler or Dwight Yorke, no jacket required by Phil Collins, just his face in black and white, and it's just staring sternly at the camera, breaking the fourth wall.
Oh dear. All right. I think I'm going to call it there, guys. We've gone over 2 hours. I thought I was only sticking around for about half an hour as a pinch hitter, but there you go. I ended up as the host. I may not have started as the host, but I ended up there, baby.
Yes.
Well, let's all pitch in for a 5G router for Nick DeBano as our next show upgrade, and we'll speak to you again next week.
Hold on. Before we go, Ante, what have you got coming out? Plug it.
You're more than like. I'll
Go on, Joey.
I'll have stuff on ESPN and The Analyst this week. So if you see it, come out and watch it. Come out and read it.
Go read his Juve piece.
I have something on Milan as well and the Europa League final.
All right,
Anyone
Joseph.
Be a busy month.
We'll slowly fade out as you list your like 17 or 18 pieces you have coming out this week.
I only the only piece that I have written that is waiting to come out is my Guardian piece coming out tomorrow. Basically, I have said a number of the points already in our Marquees chat earlier surrounding that. But as always, I also script and voice extra time on npl.tv for Football Victoria, so catch that. Yeah, I'll have a bunch of stuff on ESPN as well in the coming weeks and months ahead. But yeah, I think that's the only thing I've actually got in the thing. I would just tease though, if I can tease something gigantic is coming in the TNC space. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned indeed.
Yeah, we've got a shot clock for making points. We've got a 30-second timer. We're going to try and get it to 90 minutes.
Defense.
You were saying something, Nick?
I was just going to say, if we're going to talk about...
How am I getting ethered by Anna Harrington when she's not even on the show? This is bullshit.
What's a Harrow, man?
Hey, I got to say, if we're throwing around cheap plugs, by the time this podcast comes out, it's going to be redundant. But let's bloody hope that in 6 hours' time or 5 hours' time, Milan have won the Scudetto, a win, Cagliari lose, or win, we're there. It's exciting times. And you'll either see a very happy me tomorrow morning when I go to the presses with Tony Popovich, or a very sad version of myself. So let's make the early morning worth it, fellas.
Announce TNC on 10.
Wow, what a great podcast.
Wow, what a game, guys.
Hey, if TNC was on Channel 10, the outro music would come on right in the middle as I'm trying to finish.
You have two eyes, huh? Do you understand the game a bit? Yeah, have a look.
I'm not saying anything to you in particular because I know you're not too accurate with your reporting.
That's what you paid
so you're
for.
saying I should resign. So you're saying I should resign.
I think
that's
you
your
should,
opinion. Is that right?
That's my
Okay,
opinion.
fine.
Are you going to resign then?
No, of course I'm not going to resign.
Let's simplify things next time.